Before I lose all my connectivity and uh, battery powers, I'm recording this because what we're looking at here is the OBS uh, capture of the two IP cameras, which is why there's a little bit of a 60 kilohertz or something, maybe 50 on the left side of the screen. Those are coming from an IP camera capture program. And I'm able to get it into OBS only because I'm using the Windows share or similar term capture. So I'm grabbing the window that's on the PC of those two cameras and I'm arranging it inside OBS, which is fine. And over on the right, you're seeing the camcorder image. So that's interesting. The little camera sitting on the game table top left is focusing on that bridge right there. And it's interesting. I didn't know if these cameras would be able to maintain their battery power after being charged, but I suppose maybe they are. We'll see. These cameras were notorious for never holding their charge, so I had them plugged in all the time. And where were they? Well, they were actually in a different room of the house. They were being used as security cameras and they're no longer needed. So we are looking at the two bridges. Bottom left is the bridge leading to the facility, and the top left is the bridge leading from one of the so-called beachfront areas, landing zones, or something of that nature, but that is a bridge. And this is a topic that kind of brings up the fact of how mechs deal with water. How do you get across? By the way, I'm sorry, that's one of three bridges. That top left scene shows one bridge and actually two bridges. So it was the question of how the mechs deal with water. Can they swim? And the answer is, I don't know why. Because they have those mechs that have jump jets. Can they engage the jets in water? The answer would be, well, no, because they're not water jets, they're air jets. They suck in air and put out pressure, power, energy. So obviously the answer would be no, they would sink, and because the jets wouldn't be able to work because they're in water. So that brings up an interesting question about mechs that are going to be destined to be used in a planet that has water. Now, okay, let's go with the assumption that they never thought of it, or it's too expensive, it's too rare to have a mech outfitted with ability to be in water. Okay, so instead of giving it jump jets, which are taking in air and one side and the other side putting out energy, lift, let's say that they've outfitted them to accept liquid. So they would be something like what? Hydrodynamic drive? Magneto-hydrodynamic or caterpillar drive? I don't know, right? We're stretching here. We're reaching. Yes. So we're trying to find an answer. And if anybody has an answer, please email us and let me know. So we're going to assume these things cannot swim. Can they touch the bottom? Do we even know what the bottom is? Well, the best answer for that would be to default and say no. Because the bottom isn't known, there's no way to know if it's safe to walk on. They might get mired in muck, even if they just wanted to walk across. As you can see, there's a big water area and like a lake and pond and so on, and then there's just the river itself or the creek. We don't know how deep that is. I suppose, in the playing of the game, you might say, well, let's just die roll it. Blue is shallow or crossable, and red is not, 50-50. Otherwise, so if it's not crossable, it means when a mech steps in a hex that has water in it, he will have, I should say, let's put it this way. If a mech attempts to cross the river or the creek, uh, and it's not possible to do so, then he will sink and drown or become ineffective and be non-recoverable, I suppose. If it is crossable, then it's simply a movement barrier, and it means when he gets in the water, it's shallow enough he can walk across and get up on the bank of the other side. We're making that assumption. Now, how do we know he doesn't get stuck? Well, we don't. Is there a possibility of him getting stuck? Yes. So when you enter or try to cross the river from hex to hex, not anything like, where's my stick? Not anything like, obviously, this up here. Okay, there's my stick. Okay, can't cross there. And over here, right here where the water thickens, can't cross there. So can't cross here, can't cross there, etc., etc. Okay, so getting across means there's a possibility. Now, obviously, mech has capabilities. Agility is one. If it's a heavy mech, getting across is going to be a problem. It might collapse the bank that it steps on. So you could say a heavy mech successfully crossing would be unlikely. So therefore, rolling on the CNC dice, if you roll the CNC, which is the symbol, then he makes it. Otherwise, he fails. So you see, in this way, we'll be using the CNC dice a little differently. Fail is more likely than passing for a heavy mech, and of course, mediums are going to be code, which is red, and then lights and so on will be color, which is blue. Now remember, that's just arbitrary. It could easily be something more significant. For instance, let's say that the mech has a great agility. Then so if it has a great agility, say a level 1 agility, then that would be just a modifier to the die roll. So if you roll code and you needed color, then the +1 modifier, the benefit brings you down toward automatic, again, as we all know, and therefore you make it. So same goes with the heavy mech, or, well, we have to assume that assault mechs are not going to do this, right? Heavy mech. Okay, does it have agility? We don't know. We have to think about it. Does it have any chance? Well, not really. Let's face it. A heavy mech is darn heavy. I mean, was it 50 tons? 60 tons? Getting across, walking on the bottom of a creek? I don't think so. Anyway, so that's where we are. That's what this is about. And we will continue to grab these little snippets and put them on our channel so we can cause some, consternation. So you can cause some discussion and see what these things are. Now, there's also the other issue. You see those two hills between the two bridges? I really like those. Those were purchased, whereas the other green ones, I made those. But the ones I purchased are nice. And I think the guy who makes those, he makes them by hand, of course, but I think he has a certain pattern. And if we can get those replicated, that would be great. So you might look into that. I like mine that are 2 inches tall. His, you can see on the top left corner video, they're not so tall. I think they're 1.5 inches, and mine are 2 inches of foam. And his don't have the hexagon grid on them yet, but mine do. So, and people say, hey, your hex grids don't line up with the bottom grid. I'm like, I know. That we don't care. Why? Because it just, when you move on there, wherever hex you come to, call it the first hex you move to. Okay? So it no longer matters what the pattern orientation is of the hex, on the hex pattern on the hill. Just, you use common sense. All right, so there we are. That's it, and we'll continue to bring these as they come up. Thank you.